Straight. I'm your host, Glenn Sutphin. This is Chris Dorsey, my co-host. We've been being advocates around the area. Most of you have seen us. Definitely seen Chris. He's been on the news, been thrown out of City Hall, all kinds of good stuff. We've had a busy week this week. He was on the radio Tuesday. We went to the event Wednesday. I was on the radio Thursday. And here we are now on our show trying to fill you in on what's been going on. So I'm going to give Chris the floor, let him talk a little bit.
Greetings. Thanks for giving me the floor here. As Glenn mentioned, my name's Chris. We did have a busy week this week. We went downtown to the state capitol on Wednesday. Tuesday, we went and did our regular show on WCLM, or regular lately. Going on the show with Pastor Rob Scarborough. Myself and others have been appearing on Pastor Rob's show for a number of years. And basically what we do, just to lay it all out, we have inside information on how the government functions.
Or doesn't function.
Well, that's the ultimate debate, but I think it's functioning, exactly the way those who have their, fingers on the levers of power want it to, because if they don't like it, they'll just change the rules to fit their needs. But we go on there and we out and document the crimes of the city, state, and federal government, and especially and most importantly, the institutions and individuals that control those institutions. You've seen our ideas and philosophies put forward on the International Banking Cartel series and Rothschild conspiracy, Federal Reserve Bank, International Banking Cartel, Four Horsemen of Banking. It's called a number of things, but basically we're Americans, we're people, we're lawful men, and we are the body of the people, and we are the resistance against this tyranny right now, the uncontrolled opposition. And we said it straight. Nobody's paying us any money, obviously. We comprehend how what that term means, and that it's never money. It's always just debt. So no one individual in this society has a fortune or has any money. They are just more equipped than others to leverage debt. So I'm just going to pass it back over to Glenn, but this is what I'd like for everyone to get out of this is we're gathering. We gather in front of the Federal Reserve Bank. Some of us stand out there with our just sidearms. Some stand out with loaded semi-automatic and automatic weapons, and the police will cower from us. The Federal Reserve Bank police, the feds that we beep the horn at and flick off, and they run away from us, and that's good. They need to become more servants rather than cowards from us. They need to start serving us rather than cowering from us. And some amongst us, prison cells. They'll be a lot better than the prison cells that the poor wallow away in the land of the fees and the home of the caged. But they will be watched. The institutions and individuals in control of our society right now. Things are going to get flipped around, and it's going to happen soon. And we've got the United States Constitution and natural law on our side. So I'll pass it back to Glenn at that point, and I thank you for your attention. We're gonna provide inordinate information, and usually this will be a recap of all the actions, the lawful actions that we've taken over the week, and all of the this is a court record. We are prosecuting a court case. We have prima facie evidence showing that the institutions and individuals that control the current government must be abolished under the law and operate completely outside the bounds of the Constitution. which are not our rules because our rights are infinite. That's the rules of the government. We ordain the Constitution. We ordain the government, and we're getting ready to abolish it. And we're just following the rules set up by our forefathers. And you know, if you're an American and you're one of the people, you'll join us. If you're a citizen, you know, stay away from us. You know, we don't have any jurisdiction over you. You're what's ruined this country. So we'll pass to Glenn, and I just want to congratulate Glenn on documenting more election fraud from Tuesday.
Yeah, getting to that. Yeah, I did the screen capture, and 0% reporting in, and they're already reporting winners and how many write-ins. And I mean, you've documented it. You're the one that not turned me onto it, but when I interviewed you a couple years ago, before you were running for sheriff, and you were saying, there's all this fraud and your vote does not count, people. Sorry, don't care what you say. It doesn't count. When you have whole precincts that are not counted, how are those votes then counted? How do you, as an individual, can you sit there and say, well, my vote counted if you're in one of those counties where it didn't even register?
Or precincts. So that was you're referencing. I mean, it's hard to keep track of all the election fraud and fraud of the state of Virginia, the city of Richmond, and the federal government. It's federal. We can get into what that means. Whatever they think that the federal government means, the state of Virginia and the city of Richmond, they control the voting for all of that. And it's polling. It's not really voting, because it's a vote means that it actually counts. But you're referencing in 2012 when there were 5 precincts that were recording, that actually had recorded 0 votes, meaning 5 entire precincts in the city of Richmond, they're saying have 0 votes, and they're calling the election, and they're hiding it. Chris Piper, manager of Virginia elections, we have emails that we have put up where he and Kirk Showalter and David Levine, at that point, I have heard David Levine has left the job, I should say. He's got a lot of information. That's the assistant registrar. And of course, Kirk Showalter, who's always a star on election day, explaining and spewing diarrhea and bullshit out of her mouth about disappearing voting machines and
ballots not counted because they were locked in a drawer.
Yeah, locking ballots in a drawer and being sued 6 different times in one election period. So but in municipal and federal court. So we've got all the evidence. I mean, there's no disputing it. One thing that we can say is just, you can go to Richmond Peace on YouTube, but you can hear these guys for themselves. You can watch videotape of me handing just about every election official in the state of Virginia, in the city of Richmond. And when I say just about, I'm saying like
everyone we could find.
All of them that you can find. Yeah. All of them that are in an operational place to do a actual job and doing communications. That would be the manager of Virginia elections. That would be the registrar of the city of Richmond, the assistant registrar of the city of Richmond, the Richmond Electoral Board. We've got them, in their own words, stating that they are missing thousands of votes after it's a violation of Virginia state law, and that all votes must be accounted for. And here we have, beyond what Glenn caught this election cycle, which is the State Board of Elections computer, which is all the voting's on computer, even if it's, paper ballot that's transferred onto the computer. That's where it has to be. I mean, we're not going to get into the minutia of the election fraud, except for with this one, then to say, when we see these precincts dropping, that is both an actionable thing that's manipulating votes, but it's also symptomatic of the computer program that controls all those voting machines in the city of Richmond getting hacked into. So
Yeah,
we got it. I mean, we got it. I mean, last night we were watching television, and or I was watching television with Amanda.
They were showing the electronic where you push it and it registers the other person.
Right. And they're saying, and the response is, first they have had a number of responses to that, and we were thinking that was happening. We saw that happening in Frederick County, Maryland, for early voting. We saw it happening in Prince George, Maryland. We saw it happening up in Northern Virginia, and we also saw it happening in Virginia,
North Carolina,
flipping all over the place, as they do every election. There's just more catching of it because, you know, the other time, you know, when I've gone in and voted in the past, and we have, you know, video and evidence of elections officials at the polls harassing me and the police harassing me at the polls, but also what I know is they're asking people as they come in, whether they're Republican or Democrat. They do that every year. Every year they do that. That's the ruse. That's the thing to get everybody worked up. That they are doing that, and they might even be manipulating voting as a result of that. But that's the thing.
That's a beard. That's a false. That's a false. They put that out there so you have something to complain about.
Oh, I'm a Republican. Yeah, they're trying to discriminate. Oh, I'm a Democrat. They're discriminating against me. Oh, you know, but really, the real thing is that not only are the votes disappearing in all these precincts that will manipulate all of the voting together, which is all fixed. I mean, we saw the presidential elections on syndicated television
a week or so before it even voted. So yeah,
and in the city of Richmond, the first district, it took them until, you know, months after the election to figure out who won an election where there's probably, you know, 15,000 voters. And then before the polls even close out in California, they have called the election in the presidential election with what, hundreds of millions, not hundreds of millions, tens of millions of votes, because it's you know, it's what, half of the adult population that's able probably shows up.
West Coast, you know, it's like they already announced it before the West Coast even had a chance to vote. So where do your votes count then?
Right.
I mean, you people say, oh, it's your duty to vote. It's your duty to vote. I don't vote because it's a crime. You're participating in fraud. We just proved it. Zero precincts reporting in. They already have winners and how many write-ins.
Right.
So where is your vote really? You know, you got to vote. You got to vote. Why? Because they told you to.
Right.
You were controlled. Just like when we were at the cannabis rally and everybody, oh, Chris, don't smoke that joint. You'll get in trouble. Oh, you can be arrested. That's what we were there to protest. It's kind of, you know, I don't understand the mentality sometimes where you think they don't need to control you. They just put a little bit out there. You control your damn selves.
Right.
You keep going, oh, well, you can't do this. And you automatically police everything because what they made you fear. You got to step outside of that and go, look, we are over the government. We the people are the first line of government.
That's right.
The press is the second power of government, and then the three other ones that I won't mention because most of you don't even know who they are.
Yeah,
that's the legislative, the executive, and the judicial.
Well, I presume everybody who's watching this knows,
but hopefully,
pretty much, what the score is.
But those three say all this stuff, and it's like we gave them the power.
Right.
We control that power, not them. How many times has Congress voted on something that you decided you wanted? They say, oh, well, Congress is going to do this. Congress said this is what we're going to do. And the whole nation goes, oh, okay. Why? When did you get to vote on any of that? When do you get to vote on all the important things that you leave up to these few individuals in Congress, which decide what to do for you? So I don't understand the mentality of some of these people, but then again, I also do understand the mentality because they've been dumbed down and they've been controlled so much that when you're a slave and you don't know you're a slave, you're the easiest thing to control.
Sure. And we're not looking for majority numbers of the population, because it never is. I mean, the American Revolution wasn't led by the majority of the population. It was led by the people, as defined in the Constitution. It was led by man, you know, and so you, like, just to piggyback on what Glenn was saying, it doesn't matter, you know, what these people in Congress say and do, except for you're a slave to them. You're a debt slave. It's not your actual necessary, and in many cases it is your actual physical backbreaking labor, but it's your mental labor. It's your time. You go to work every day, and what do? Look at the biggest industries that we have here in Richmond. The credit card industry. That's what they say is hiring all the time. That's Capital One. What does that do? What good does that do anybody? A freaking credit card? So basically you get a credit card, then you get another credit card to pay off your credit card that's paying off all your bills. And it's a money scam. However, we don't have any real property, or we don't have any real assets in general. We have things, but we don't have any real assets. We don't have any land. We've taken these green pieces of paper or these plastic cards, and we've given away all of our freedoms and all those. That's our slave card. That is the credit card is your slave card. It's not anything other than that. I mean, it separates the levels of slaves, but this money scam that they've got that controls everything, it's gonna wipe us all out. I mean, how many millions of dollars have we spent? Just, you know, we're all over the place, but just to touch on some of the stuff we've hit on the radio that people can concretely put their you know, fingers on. So this is not, you know, going to be abstract or the provable, you know, conspiracy, you know, carried out by the government and the institutions that control it. We'll talk about Dominion power and about how the fact that nobody's disputing that there's a tritium leak there that was caused by an earthquake that they never fixed. It's in the groundwater. And so how do they respond to this? Do they clean it up?
Another one.
They want to build another reactor, and they have unlawfully used they have billed the customers unlawfully without getting approval of the State Corporation Commission, which they allege what's the word I'm looking for, oversees and regulates Dominion Power, when in fact Dominion Power regulates Dominion Resources, Dominion Energy, whatever you want to call the fracker, the nuclear leaker, the destroyer of the planet. Their union is called Local 666. They have their logo looks like it's a representation of the hand of God. They want to call themselves Dominion Power. Man, I would be really, like, you know, upset if I didn't know these fucking schmucks and face down these Dominion executives, you know, right to their face and stare them down and beat them in a staring contest, because, man, they know their time is coming. They know that they're not going to get away with very much longer putting the rest of us at risk. They're not going to be able to escape, because one of the things that we are pushing forward is the idea that, you know, if you're the richest 20% of the population at this point, the people are going to get control of this government soon, and we're going to put the screws to every government agent. We're going to use every lawful piece of manipulation that we can to go after you. You're feeling the police force? We will use every lawful tactic to go after you and put the screws on you, to make your life uncomfortable. Government, even more. If you're a part of the institutions that control government, like Tom Farrell from Dominion Power, or not Ben Bernanke, sorry, Jeff Lacker from the Richmond Federal Reserve Bank, just keeping to, you know, local Richmond people, or Janet Yellen, a dual Israeli citizen, or Stanley Fisher, or the stockholders, the richest people amongst you, the richer you are, the more scrutiny you're going to be under. The richer you are, the more I would say, literal. We're going to interpret the Constitution in order to carry out your punishment. You know, if you're like, you know, just some guy making, you know, $120,000 a year, you know, working at Capital One or Altria, killing people, you know, oh, we'll know you're someone who shouldn't be trusted, and you know, we'll probably, you know, improve the public housing projects and put you in there. But that's what we would want to do. We already have an infrastructure set up. You know, we have an infrastructure set up, but it's time to reverse things. It's time to, you know, put the predatory psychopaths who thrive in this usurious society where they belong, kind of watched for their own good and the good of everyone else, for the good of humanity. We need to watch these people. We need to, you know, put them under our thumb instead of having the worst amongst us at the very top and polluting our society with garbage and pushing forward like the Talmudic agenda, the Saturnian agenda, the agenda of sociopathy or nihilism, whatever you want to call it. That's what we oppose. That's what the basis of the country oppose that. And we can get into, I mean, we can cover all of it, you know.
We will later in other shows.
Yeah.
That's for other shows. This is
Sure.
just an introduction to say this is what we've been doing, and
yeah,
to introduce ourselves to you. Let's see, what else would we?
Well, I mean, we can talk about, you know, the fact that at the cannabis rally, I think the key thing, I think that, you know, Glenn and I like to put out there, and Glenn was touching on at the beginning, was that we don't ask permission from government for things. Are you kidding? What does that mean? When you ask permission, it means that you're going to pay a fee. You're going to pay a fee whether you get permission, whether your authorization is granted, and we can talk about what the word authorization means, and who is the authorizer and who's the certifier. But you know, we were out there, and this was, I would presume, some sort of nationwide event at all the state capitals. I see lots of them from the, you know, controlled opposition, gun rights folks on the right, like the jokes and the lobbyists from the so-called Virginia, well, I think it's appropriately named Virginia Citizens Defense League, led by a freaking cop, Philip Van Cleve. You know, the people who when the Capitol Police see us coming, they turn and run the other direction, because they know, I mean, they know no matter what, there's nothing that they can do. They're not going to be able to, you know, detain us because we're armed, and they're not going to be able to, you know, get us in violation of the law. They're not going to do anything but illegally detain us at any point. So they know at this point, instead of being made a fool out of on YouTube, that they turn and run the other direction and lessen their you know, looking stupid. So we go out there and we say, look, you know, you're protesting and asking the government permission for what I'm doing and have done in front of the federal courthouse, in front of at the state capitol when the General Assembly is in session, and I'm doing it while being filmed on TV. Not just Glenn, who's the only one that you'll see everything from that happens at these events, but also it's right there with some guy saying, we should stop arresting people for marijuana, and you know, this thing and that thing.
And then turn around, quit smoking it on TV.
Quit smoking. I don't want to
be get arrested. I don't want to be. I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to. You know, oh, you did something that was illegal that you're out here protesting against. It just goes to show the amount of slavery that we're under, because they don't need no police officers there whatsoever, no law enforcement there whatsoever, but the group of people saying you can't do that because
self-policing by alleged advocates. And I knew some people there, and we won't mention any names right now, but you know, people can figure it out if they're watching the videos of what's going on, which is what we want. I mean, they're saying, I don't want to go to jail anymore for this. And I said, well, I don't either. And that's why I'm not going to go to jail for anything, because that's not going to happen. We have figured it out. You're lawfully armed. If you're not violating the law, then the government agents who are your servants are actually violating the law and are, you know, committing kidnapping, abduction, and any time that they attempt to arrest somebody for a ticket, traffic violation, DUI, for child support, for any of these things. And I'm saying that these things aren't necessarily good. I'm just saying a government agent can't arrest you for that. And if they try to take your person, man, they're really violating the law. They know better than to do that. So that's all I'm saying. To me, they know better than to do that.
And plus, it's not against the law. It's against their statute that they made up illegally, right, which is unconstitutional. So if it's unconstitutional, you do not have to follow that dictate.
Right. What are they going to say with cannabis? That the world's greatest medicine that grows out of the ground, the hemp, you know, plant, which is, you know, the basis of our economy,
was written on hemp.
It was drafted on hemp paper. So that the substance that the law was written on is illegal under their statutes. But see, that's where you get it. That's where you start comprehending everything. Of course, it's going to be illegal under their statutes, because they are, and I'll get into this very briefly and just say it's not necessarily what you think it is. They are Satanists, which means that they invert everything. It means, well, this gives all the rights to the people. Okay, well, we'll take this thing and we'll say that we'll add an amendment, and we'll say that all these people are citizens and they're under our jurisdiction. When this thing was drafted, it says the people ordain the government. The Virginia Constitution says, you know, the people are the masters and the government is their servant and at all times amenable to them. You know, so they just take these words. They'll take a word like militia, which is the law. There is no police force in the Constitution. The police force, and they've never used the word police, but the law enforcement arm of the people, which is always, you know, mandated under the law and in the law to be superior to the, you know, to the government power, is the militia. That is our law enforcement. There's no such thing as the police in the Constitution.
Nope, it was made up by the police industrial complex and the prison industrial complex to gain revenue from the citizens. I'm not a citizen, never have claimed to be. I do not follow their dictates. I am a man. That's what Chris says. People go, oh, that's kind of stupid. You saying all this weird stuff. He's speaking the truth. He's telling you he's a man.
Right. I'm a man. I'm not a person. I'm not a citizen. I'm one of the people. Read the Constitution. Read the Constitution from beginning to end. I recommend it. You know, I attempt to do it like, you know, maybe a couple times a year. And then the rest of the time I use the document as a reference. Read it from beginning to end and see whether you want to consider yourself a people, one of the people, or a citizen or a person. Read it from beginning to end as it stands right now. And smarter people than myself, including Glenn, have taught me all of these things, because, you know, it's all word tricks. So it's based on words, like a declaration of war. That's words, you know, spoken usually, you know, to the masses at this point by the president, who's nothing more than a spokesperson and speaking stuff that they decided years ago above what the so-called president of the United States says, because it's central bankers that are in control. And, you know, those central bankers, they're also bloodline relatives of royal families and Saudi so-called royals. And, you know, we'll get into that further. But really, it's just words. Everything is words. When I sentence, the state sentence, the Commonwealth sentences you to death by lethal injection. That's just words. So when one starts saying like, oh, they're using word tricks and they want to tell me that I cannot, you know, use the trump card in the law as part of the word tricks, it's your trump. The people always trump the government. Now, that's not in actual practice. That's not a realistic thing to say on some levels at this point. But when you realize how easily we can snuff out the institutions that control government and the criminals that run it, and that if we don't, you know, really bad things are going to start happening, and we're going to use all our labor and time on this planet, which we should be serving humanity and serving the creator and being good moral you know, children of God, or whatever you want to say, creation, we are slaving away to abject evil and spending our money basically to, you know, to have these people slowly kill us as they suck all the blood out of our body.
Yeah, pretty much our blood, our energy, our essence,
time.
I mean, they have a great scam going. They've had it going since before Rome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Babylonian.
It's gone back to Babylon, and probably before
Babylon, that, definitely too.
Because humans are that way, and people want a leader so that they don't have to take responsibility for their own damn self.
Right, but that's not what this country's about.
Well, no,
we were not what it was founded on.
We were founded on fuck you. That was pretty much what it is. America was founded on, we got tired of being told what to do, and we said, fuck you. That's the simplest thing to say. You know, no, I will not comply with your dictates.
That's right. I mean, I agree with that 100%.
You know, it's like, we won't comply. I don't comply. People say, well, how do you do what you do? How can you be out there and not get arrested? Well, when you're not doing anything wrong, the only thing they can do is trump up charges against you. And did you never had your rights read to you. You never went to get booked. You never went. So how did they arrest you?
Often.
Yeah. How did they arrest him when they didn't do what they are supposed to do? And then just said, well, because we said so. Well, you know what? If I say I'm a green alien, it doesn't make me a green alien. It just means I said it. And they say, well, we said because we're the authority. You're not the authority.
I will tell you what gives them the authority. Their guns and their ability to kill and get away with it.
Correct.
Okay, so this Glenn is referencing when I was unsuccessfully framed for allegedly, you know, and I videotaped, there was videotape of the whole incident
and photos
and all this other stuff. But they attempted to frame me and send me to fucking jail. And they did a really bad job of framing me, but the thing is, they got caught, and I am often unlawfully detained, assaulted, searched, you know, kidnapped, abducted
held against your will
by government agents. This is not assaulted, you know, without these things happening too. That won't happen again. Another thing that was done to me was these people, there were multiple like individuals who subdued me physically, put me in restraints as I'm ordering them to let me go. And then while they're lifting me up and pulling me in different directions, they're ripping my firearm off my side. So basically, they could have killed me, and there's all marble in that city hall area. It's a hard hard floor,
Your
solid
weapon
wood,
could have hit and went off and hit somebody
ricocheted
else.
in all sorts of different directions. Who would they have blamed that for? Me. But I mean, the thing is, they got caught red-handed, red freaking handed, and they do it all the time and nothing happens. Just like the election fraud. We catch them. They have no explanation. There's no refuting it. It's verified. No one in their right mind can say what the video shows, which is these people trumping up a charge, me telling them the charge is trumped up and that I have video evidence that this has happened before, because this, in this particular location, because I've had interactions with all sorts of government agents, all sorts of my servants that are really getting out of line, and them not even handling the thing right. You'd think that they would have read me my rights, but this Asian cop who I've gotten on video, several other places at Richmond Peace on YouTube, he just says, "You're going to jail," and then assaults me, and then additional police proceed to assault me while they're getting instructions. The picture shows they're always talking to someone. I'm ordering them to let me go. They're ripping my firearm off as I'm in restraints. They've fabricated the whole story. Then what happens? They lie about it in the media. Let me tell you about this, and then I'll pass back because I talk way too much. What I'm saying to each and every individual, person, government agent watching is, it is very pathetic how the government operates, about how they never, say that they're sorry for what they've done. They never, I require, compensation for what happens. And I require all sorts of compensation. And I've alerted the government lawfully that I require compensation. I've heard nothing about this. Glenn and I went and reported the assaults and the abduction and the false report. We provided publicly the individuals, even statutes beyond the constitutional rights violated in all these instances, and nothing happens. And to end my narrative about why nothing happens and what the significance of that is because these people, these persons, I should say, government agents and so-called officers of the court, their magic doesn't work on me because they're in dishonor. So they're now under my jurisdiction. So I do what I want. And at this point, that's the rules that everybody needs to comprehend. The law is suspended, but there are consequences, and one of the consequences is their magic can't work because they're acting in dishonor. They are lying, all of them, every single one of the Richmond police, every single one of the FBI agents and agents of government that know all of these things that we're saying is true, that we've contacted the FBI on all sorts of different issues. We stand face to face with, the heads of the FBI in room full of nothing but cops. And we don't intimidate them for any other reason. Is we have no fear of them, and we have proof of their crime, and they can't get away with it. And we don't let them get away with it. And what are they going to do? Frame us? Well, we film everything, so that doesn't work. So they're acting in dishonor. They have no honor. They have no morals. They are low and contemptible, and they are your enemy, and act accordingly.
Yeah, they're an occupying army, and the Congress now.
That's right.
Congress is also acting as an occupying army too, because they're not American anymore. They don't follow your rules. They follow what the IMF, the CFR, all these other so-called agencies and the World Bank. the World Bank, the Fed.
Well, same
yeah,
entities,
yeah.
but
All these entities that everybody talks about, that's who they belong to.
that's right.
They do not belong to we the people, which is the first three words of the Constitution. We the people.
That's right.
We ordained this.
Yeah.
We granted them the, I'm not going to say power, but that's the best. We granted them the authorization to act in. Okay, I could put this try to put this analogy. You work at McDonald's, you have a manager and you have all the little staff. That would be like us, the managers, listening to the staff tell us what to do.
Right.
We gave the staff the ability to do stuff, and then all of a sudden they're telling us and dictating to us what we, the owners, are supposed to do. It doesn't happen in business, but it happens in the real world because we, the people, have allowed it to go on for so long.
Right.
And we have lived under fraud for all my life, all Chris's life,
of course,
because it was 1913 that they put in the Federal Reserve illegally. If it came in illegally, how is it legal to follow it? Just like voting is now become illegal, has been done illegally. We've already proven it with 0% precincts reporting in, and they already announced winners and all this other stuff. It's so why participate? Why sit there and say yes? All you're doing when you participate is saying yes to your own enslavement.
That's a good. You are saying you're complying. You're saying I give my consent. You're consenting to this. You're consenting to what you know. So don't consent. And was it Carl Lentz? I mean, I like to mention a lot of people, that I get research from. It's countless people, but Carl Lentz, he put forward a lot of simple concepts, and I've used some of his constructs that he disseminates as well. So what I say in any sort of agreement when they tried to, after they abducted me and they put my life in danger and assaulted me and violated my
fondled you
and fondled me and all sorts of stuff. I think that a lot of government agents are pedophiles, closeted homosexuals, just open homosexuals that use their positions to commit buggery. But that's just an aside. They tried to get me sign something that said, oh, we'll give you your gun back when you sign this thing. I said, I'm not signing anything. You're saying I'm trespassing? I'm not trespassing. This is city property. This is public property. You're out of your mind. I'm not signing anything. Well, we're not giving you your gun back. And I'm like, well, I'm going to sign it, but you'll see it's in a way that I don't agree with any of this. So I sign everything N-A, or I write out the word non-assumpsit. Look it up. Sign everything you have to put any sort of
mark
on. Sign it N-A, non-assumpsit. You'll see non-assumpsit. You say, oh, you got to pay taxes. No. I don't agree with that. Why would I agree with something that is against my best interest in every way? The taxes don't go for anything good. That's one of the biggest fraud. That is the biggest fraud of the left. The biggest fraud of the left. We're covering simple concepts now. The biggest fraud of the left is, and we will get really deep into some other more esoteric thing, but the fraud of the left, the biggest fraud, as I build it up, is that taxes go for anything good. They don't. They go for your enslavement. They give you just enough to survive and just enough so that they can extract whatever sort of energy or money they want out of you. They put, they'll pay taxes. Why should I pay taxes on a job when they're just going to bring, water down the workforce and bring in undocumented workers from other countries who don't pay taxes, and neither do their bosses. I mean, here we can get into one thing that rarely I've heard discussed on any sort of radio talk show or anything. But back when they were constructing the federal United States federal courthouse, the new one in Richmond, there was a Homeland Security and ICE raid. And turns out that Turner Construction, which is always popping up with the Richmond jail or the 9/11 cover up, or all the activity and in every government building in Washington, D.C. And their name came into the subject, and they're like, Turner Construction, they work for the government and everything. Why are they using illegal workers? And that's when the story just disappeared. They kept these poor workers, and out of the thing, I have no ill will towards these individuals that are coming in and working illegally. But the people hiring them, I have nothing but ill will towards. I have disdain for. I am at war with these individuals. It will never end until they are defeated and demolished. And so I don't know. I just wanted to throw that one out there, and the concept of, we need to give everybody a chance. These people are children too. We need to send them to the schools. This point, yeah, I don't disagree. I do not disagree, except for I don't agree that it's the duty of anyone to educate other people's children through government mandates. But the thing is, we got to pull up the slack. We got to have a pay cut, because the workforce is watered down. The more workers, the lower the wage. The less workers, the higher the wage. They had that figured out. That's simple supply and demand. So we went through some simple concepts of the left and the right that are fraudulent at their base. They make no rational sense. They are, is it non sequitur? Would that be a proper term? They're non-starters. And sorry, Glenn. No,
that's you're on the roll. Go on.
And that's it. That because I kind of tied it up there.
Yeah, we're trying to present simple concepts here until the next couple shows, when we start getting deeper into what's going on. You listen to Chris on the radio; he explains it, and people, I don't understand. So this is kind of like where we explain what you don't understand. I put the things up on Get the News Straight on FedBook, and I call it FedBook because it's federally operated, owned. The feds own it, FBI, CIA, DARPA, all them. So why not call it the spy program what it is?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah. I mean, I
that's a good one.
I have taken them to task with what they've been doing, and the FBI was running that and ordered me to stop it.
Of course. Who runs all those operations? They disseminate. They come out of the Pentagon. They come out of the Defense Department.
Well, 5,000 computers in the Pentagon have child porn on it. What got done?
That's where they come from. That's where it comes from. It wouldn't exist. It wouldn't be rampant on everybody's page. It wouldn't pop up for all these people on Facebook if that wasn't the case. Right. Okay. Here's the other thing. I'd like to get into these simple concepts. All right. So here's what we're supposed to believe. This alleged individual that allegedly exists, that they call Mark Zuckerberg, sits in his dorm room and invents something that within what
about a decade?
A decade goes from non-existence. It's not even been close to it. I don't think it's been close.
Almost 10 years.
Was it like 2007? Maybe?
I believe it was.
Okay, in a short period of time, and now it's omnipresent. There are billions of Facebook users. There's probably like a fifth of the world population or something like that is on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a big number.
Huge number. Huge number. And people thought that MySpace, look at another, what seems to be somewhat of a figurehead named Rupert Murdoch. And if he's not good, I mean, the more culpable and the more assets and more power these people have, the easier it is. I mean, Rupert Murdoch, he's at the top of the line as far as needing to be like lawfully neutralized. But the thing is, look at what and I'm saying using the Constitution as a guide for what lawfully, neutralized would be for someone committing treason, like everyone in the media industry, the mainstream media industry.
Well, that's mostly owned by George Soros.
Well, you know where George
Murdoch.
Soros is getting his money, because he's kind of an agent of the older European so-called Jewish families, like the Rothschilds, the Oppenheimers, the Schiff. I guess they were more agents operating inside the United States, but it's easy. Just follow the money, and we don't have to get into these concepts any further. But Zuckerberg, you think that one kid is masterminding all of this thing and has access to the computer and has access to all this on the Operation Mockingbird controlled mainstream media and is at the top of the algorithmic computer search programs, who controls the internet? Who invented the internet? Didn't we establish that the United States military did that, and that they are,
it was ARPANET.
Right, and that they were doing, they had their own internet back in the 1960s, early 1960s, that they had their own computerized worldwide, intercontinental,
and then it branched out,
and then worldwide. And what were they using? They were using the old British telegraph lines, which became wires on the old British phone lines. And then they became the new British so-called system of tubes, using the same, and who's from media reports, for whatever that's worth, say that it's always an agent of the British government whenever there's some sort of problem anywhere around the world with those lines. Agent of the so-called British government comes and fixes it. So this is a military operation, and it has been from the beginning. It doesn't have anything to do with college dropouts. Same with Bill Gates. That's a joke that they say that guy was the richest.
We'll save him for another show.
How come the Oppenheimers and the Saudi royals and the Queen of England, so-called Queen of England, so-called Saudi royals, the Schiff family, the Oppenheimer family, how come they're never on the Forbes list of richest people? How come the owners of the bank, that the so-called richest people in the world, have their holdings that these bankers create out of nothing inside the banks that they control? How come the owners of the Bank for International Settlements are never listed in the Forbes magazine? It's always some like, oh, this guy's this is Bill Gates. He owns a computer company. He's the richest guy. Oh, no. This guy is Mexico Slim, or whatever the fuck that guy's name is. He owns phone companies. And those Mexicans are always talking on the phone and buying phone cards. Yeah. He's the richest guy. Bullshit.
The richest people are never listed.
The richest people are never listed. We know who they are. We know where they live. We see them. I took the most powerful person in this city of Richmond. I took his freaking seat away from him that was reserved for him at city council. They had to delay the meeting because Jeff Lacker, the president of the Richmond Federal Reserve Bank, I said it to your face. It's not the first time I did. This time I was armed. This time I took your seat. This time I did it right after you were done speaking. Then I invoked a court of record and talked about how your agency is guilty in countless numbers of crimes. It was right before the September 11th anniversary. The thing is, Jeff Lacker, this Style Magazine's most powerful Richmonders. You ever see Jeff Lacker on that at the top of that list? Because he's the top of that list every year, no matter what those, no offense, trauma-based controlled homosexuals at Style Magazine, whatever, no matter what they say, it's, they'll put Tom Farrell and Bob McDonnell and Terry McAuliffe and Dwight Jones. Oh, he's the most. That's a fucking joke. Tom Farrell, yeah, he's more powerful than probably anybody else in this town, except for other, Jewish billionaires besides Jeffrey Lacker, who's actually a trillionaire because that's the fourth largest of the Federal Reserve Bank. And that creates the money. That creates the money. It's not somebody holding a lot of Federal Reserve notes. That's just somebody who's leveraging a lot of debt. They're just leveraging debt. But when you create the money, that's the only individuals that actually control the money. The creation of the money is the only control, not leveraging the debt, not amassing ability to leverage debt or having 20 black credit cards for whatever that means. It's about money creation and leveraging the money creation. And don't allow anybody else to fool you unless you want to be fooled. And that's your own free choice will after watching this. This is tough love, I guess, for lack of a better term, for you new agers who like to, talk about, whatever the Countess of Champagne might have thought that concept meant. That's not in the Constitution. It's in the Bible. That's a law book too. That's important. Law book. I think that, and I'm just using logic to show this since we swear on a Bible. I don't do this anymore because of what the Bible actually says. I'm not going to swear on a document that says don't swear an oath on documents. But that's another one of these paradox, Babylonian dichotomies that control us. So that's a law book. It is a law book. It's not the law book of the United States of America, but it kind of is, because if people are putting their hand on the Bible, swearing an oath to another document, wouldn't the document that they're using, wouldn't that be the top document?
It should be, but their logic is so flawed anyway.
And they don't mean any of it. Yeah. And that's dishonor. And their real document is the Talmud. And if one wants to look in the Talmud and how that's kind of like, all these things apply unless it's a Jew doing it to a Gentile. I'm not a Jew. I'm an Israelite. I'm an Israelite under the law. It doesn't have anything to do with the, English interpretation that's mostly used by individuals who have nothing to do with the ancient tribes of Judah. If they existed in reality, representations of them existed, whether they were calling themselves that. And we know that that's not the case because the letter J didn't really exist.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of There's a lot of different it's ideologies and
and we're just pointing out that when you get the rubber hits the road, natural law is the only thing that really exists. That comes from God. God created me. I'm a man. Man created the government. I didn't create myself. You can choose to call it something else, Allah, which doesn't mean anything except for that's the word in Arabic for God. So it's just the same word in a different language. That's like saying the word gut in German is somehow horrible or awful. And the fake Jewish controlled media, they do enough of that already. But it's something just like saying the word God in a different language is something evil or horrible. And then that's the only one that anybody should understand. Whatever created you, that's the only thing you should understand. And besides that, don't understand what I'm saying, comprehend it, but understand nothing. Because that's what the Constitution instructs you to do. And if you don't want to do that, then remain a citizen. You can be a citizen under us. We'll encourage you to stop being citizens and being equals, being sovereign. The Constitution and the Declaration, they're the first two laws of the United States. Well, the Articles of Confederation, that's a law too.
And the Magna Carta.
Well, that's
common and natural law.
That's it. But, that's the law. You don't have to obey any statutes unless it violates those laws. And then you're really just obeying the law and not statutes, because the statutes are redundant and unnecessary and usually are like a lot of the esoteric, other documents they use, like the Talmud. You may think it applies to you, but it doesn't.
Pretty much.
Unless you invoke it. That's right. I mean,
well, all right. You want to tell them about what we're planning on doing
this
coming week?
Let's do this week. Yeah.
Yeah, this week. I know we're Tuesday. We'll be back on the radio.
Tuesday we'll be back on the radio.
I don't know of any more. I don't think there's any more events coming up this week.
I'll check and see if there's a council meeting tomorrow. I'm not sure that there is or not. But another thing we want to talk about is just go out there and take a camera where you go. And if you see a government official or a rich corporate executive, stick a camera in their face and ask them some tough and concise questions.
If they'll stay around when you pull the camera out.
Well, I mean,
usually with us, they take off running away and we can't talk. And like that police officer, when we were walking up, trying to get through the building with a locked door, trying to get his bike in there because we were coming. And
sure.
It's like, oh, now I got to go between the two of them. And then he wrecked into the barricade at the back, trying to get away from us later. So, and
the door was locked.
Yeah. And why? Because we have a camera and we're filming them.
Right.
I mean,
and they want to spy us, but they don't spy on us, but they don't want us to watch them spy on us. So we do catch a lot of them. I mean, Bobby Scott, we got Bobby Scott on what was it? Was it Wednesday? Yeah. Bobby Scott on Wednesday. That's on Richmond Peace at YouTube as well. Whenever we see these individuals, this is what we want everybody to do. They won't be able to operate like that. They will be prisoners in their own homes, which is what under the law, what they should be. They won't be able to operate. I saw, on Wednesday, Bobby Scott, the congressman from where we're sitting right now. He's been in the Congress for 22 years. And
that's another thing.
Basically, we just pointed out, you serve in a treasonous institution, the United States Congress. You are a servant of the Federal Reserve Bank, which is run by dual Israeli citizens for many years. There's no disputing that. And you're basically a servant for a nation, which is a Rothschild construct, just like everything else. It's a closely held and very important Rothschild construct. I'm talking about the illegitimate state of Israel that in reality controls the United States government. The interest of a foreign country takes precedence over, in Bobby Scott's mind and in the minds of all the members of Congress, over the interests of the American people. And I pointed out that Israel attacked the United States and that the Federal Reserve Bank is privately owned and foreign controlled and run by something called the Bank for International Settlements through an agreement called Basel III that controls all the central banks. And what is his response? Well, he's very nervous. I have to get his attention a couple more times because he, is not going to answer my questions. And then I'm like, this shit. What do you think about this, Bobby? I think what you're saying is absurd. It's not absurd.
And pretend not to remember who you are.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right. Well, there's videotape of that. Yeah. He lawyered up. The last time he had a meeting with me, I went into his office and I dominated him because I don't have to lie like he does. The more intellectually honest one is, it's not that I'm an honest person. I'm only as honest as the tactics I use. I'm only as honest as my actions. I'm not honest. My actions, they are honest. So, this is where the things, rubber starts hitting the road. These things that we're saying, they cannot be disputed. If you don't like the way I look, I hear lots of persons out there. They don't like the way I look. They don't like the way I sound. They don't like my pants. They don't like my dog. They don't like my scoliosis back. They don't like, they don't like a lot of things. That's fine. Take me out of it. What we're saying can't be disputed. And all the other stuff, I know my clothes aren't the greatest. My back is not straight. my dog, I mean, I love my dog. I don't know why they did that. I mean, but he's got no problems.
Just a way to put you under their thumb and under
Right.
their rule, because if they can bring you down,
Sure.
they tell me I don't like the way you look. I'm like, that's fine. I don't
Yeah,
care.
good.
Great. I don't
Good.
care.
If you
I don't like you
hate
either.
the way
so,
I
you know
look,
what?
I want somebody to hate the way I look and only, look at what I'm saying. That would be preferable to me, because I usually don't have any contact with all these individuals who are saying these things over the phone, or, in internet forums, or if I see them out at meeting, public places. I even if I see them often, I can put it out of my mind. I don't care. Dispute what we're saying. Debunk us. You can't do it. Because it's not us you're debunking. You can't debunk fact. You can't debunk verified fact. Documented thing. A lot of the stuff we're saying with the election fraud, this is not us going like we're going to catch them in some sort of trap. This is their own words. These are their own rules. These are their rules that I think are complete BS and that they're unconstitutional. But they can't even help but commit fraud against their own rules.
Yeah, they don't follow their own rules, so why should they? So
and they're not our rules to begin with. But anyway, I just wanted to get that in. We're always doing something. We're always putting stuff out. We're going to start doing this where, we will start doing different vehicles to inform people about the lies and how to analyze the different red herrings and misinformation that one hears. I mean, I watch the mainstream news media, and I get a lot of I
don't.
I'll tell you,
I don't follow dodo bird media.
Well, I watch the markets. I watch the numbers.
Well, yeah, the information. I get that on the internet.
And
I watch the news though.
There'll be 10 sycophants on CNBC that tell you the market's going to keep going up. Everything's going great. The economy is excellent. And then there'll be that one guy that comes and tells you the truth. Most persons who watch that, they think, oh, that one guy, he's full of shit and he doesn't know what he's talking about. But that's the only guy that's telling you the truth.
Usually.
See, and they have to put that in for their magic, because they have to tell you exactly what's going on.
Yeah, they put it out in front of your face so you can see it, because they love telling you, here it comes, this is what we're doing. And you don't believe them. You don't, that can't be. They wouldn't do that. They can't be that. They are.
They
do it. You just like you think they need a warrant to come in your house. No, they don't. All they need is a lie, and they'll use that as probable cause. They don't need a warrant. They'll come in, do whatever they want. Trust me, I know. I've been through it. Had police and the CPS in my house illegally. I went against City Hall against it. My video is up. I talked. Reba knew all about it. City Council knew all about it. And then
councilwoman, Reba,
and then
Trammell.
All of a sudden, nobody knew about it. It never happened. Because why? They said it didn't happen. Therefore, citizens go, well, it didn't happen.
Right.
It did happen. I've got video proof of it. I've got documents. Well,
they're scared to stand up.
Yeah.
They're scared to stand up because they know if they stand up, they're going to get knocked down. And they don't feel like getting knocked down because they don't feel like getting back up again.
Well, they also lose all their so-called power and all that.
Oh, they'll do that. Yeah.
And they lose their
position,
and they lose all their fiat currency that they get illegally.
Right. They'd rather have all of those. They have sold their soul for all of those trappings. So that, I'll tell you, I mean, I follow what a moral path is that I think that I should follow, because I have free will that's been given to me by my creator. And I will say, what else is there to do? Why would you sell your soul to, because again, we say this over and over. There's no disputing that this government is criminal. It's abject evil. At its core, most of the money is going to death and destruction and planetary, annihilation. So why would you go along with that to make your life easier, because you will make your life easier if you don't stand up in the short term. In the long term, it'll lead you to an early grave and no planet left for
humanity.
For humanity, whatever your religious belief. Oh, and also lots of other, great species other than humanity too. Maybe there'll be some cockroaches around or something like that. And then,
other than the ones in Congress.
Right. No offense to actual cockroaches, yeah. For comparing them to members of Congress. But you must stand up. And this is an order for anyone who's watching. And then, we'll get into, we're going to cover some concepts next week that will lay out. We're giving you orders. If you're in the government, you're getting an order to from your superior to go after and to bring down your boss, your direct boss above you. We need to get in control of these nuclear missiles. We need to have cameras in every office in the White House, in the Pentagon, in the Central Intelligence Agency. They need to be slowly deconstructed, and there needs to be, an actual real trial that would have been, what the fake Nuremberg trials, led the population of the planet to be. We need to do that everywhere. We can turn that into an industry, where we're giving people money for all that, because we're going to need investigators. We're going to need people providing documentation, because all these things can be public. You think, there's nothing but garbage on television, and the people like to watch trials on television. Imagine watching the trial, not, associated with a puppet governor like Bob McDonnell, but like Jeff Lacker, that we put Jeff Lacker on trial, or that we grab the Rothschilds up, or we grab up
the elitists and the globalists, get them on trial.
And then we put them on trial. You know what we need? Guns. We're saying we surround the Fed with guns, the Richmond Fed. We stand out in front of the Fed with automatic weapons. We challenge them. We contact their lawyers saying, you guys are illegal. We're contacting you. You need to answer for your crimes. Correct what you think that we're saying that is wrong, that we know is certainly not wrong. And then we're coming for you. Then that's it. We're coming for you. And if we don't do it, there's a group behind us that will be more successful. The end game is the body of the people going into those Federal Reserve banks, gaining control of all of the assets. Those who are asset holders in the top 20%, they will be switched to the bottom 20% automatically. They will be watched. We will educate the public. Instead of having a 100% ignorant society, we will have a 100% informed society. We will take care of those who can't take care of themselves, and we will be moral. We will not kill the planet and other living things for no reason. But we will defend ourselves and use our arms the way they were intended by our founders, by our ancestors, by our forefathers. And that's all I have to say. Tune in next week.
Yeah, definitely. Tune in next week. We'll be doing it again. Chris and I will be here. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. This has been our way of getting out there more information than what we have on the radio to fill in. And like I said, we're going to be putting documents and stuff on the web to show you all that we're not bullshitting you. It's there in documented form. I speak to people. I speak to the press and to news agents all the time. I mean, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Chris knows what he's talking about. We go out there, we stand and face these people down face to face with them, and you tell us, well, you can't do that. You're telling me I can't do something I'm already been doing.
That's right. We're already doing
I don't
it.
listen to you, and I look at you like you're stupid because, well, if the shoe fits.
Right.
But anyway, this has been Get the News Straight. I'm Glenn Sutphin, Chris Dorsey.
God bless.
And see you next week.